Secretary Mnuchin, it's David Faber. Specific to that new unemployment benefit, or the one replacing the 600, 25% of it is supposed to come from the states. And I know there's been some question as to whether the states have the wherewithal to even provide that. So $100 from the states and $300 from the feds. But there's real question as to that 100 coming from the states. What do you say to those who question whether they even have the fiscal wherewithal to pull that off?
Well, let me just say that the 25% isn't really coming from the states because we're authorizing them to use money out of the $150 billion we just sent them. So in essence, all 100% is coming from the federal government. I have from every single state how much money they have left over. They have plenty of money. And the answer is we've also said in new legislation we'll top that up. So it won't cost them a dime. So to the extent they use money out of those facilities now, when we pass legislation, we'll make sure they get that money back. And on top of all of that, if there's some states that really have problems, the president has the ability to waive the 25% entirely. So what we need to do is we need to get legislation passed that helps the American public get back to work.
All right. Well, specifically back to your resistance to the $1 trillion that the Congress or the House has passed in terms of aid for the states. You know, I've heard the objections being about, well, we don't want states aiding their ailing pension fund systems and things like that. But aren't there ways to make sure the money is used specifically to help states that are suffering huge budget deficits, that are going to face huge layoffs as a result of reducing expenses? Aren't there ways to go about spending that trillion to make sure it meets your objections?
Well, let me just be clear. The $1 trillion is just an absurd number.
Why is it an absurd number, though? Why is it an absurd number, Mr. Secretary?
Well, again, I have data from the states. Let me first say that the states have money left from last time. I've already given them flexibility. They can use that money for firefighters, policemen, first responders, healthcare workers. So there's no reason they need to lay off those people. I have state by state how much money is left. So there's plenty of money now, and we've put more money on the table. So, you know, certain states had financial issues coming into this because of bad policies. I mean, New York keeps on raising their taxes. Everybody is going to move out of New York. I saw your segment earlier about how, you know, with people working from home and remote locations, it's going to be easier for businesses to move their headquarters out of some of these states. But let me tell you, Florida has no problem. And by the way,
but red states like Kentucky have a problem, too. I mean, it's not just blue states. And I know as a native New Yorker, it pains you to think about the fiscal straits of your city. But, you know, it's not just the blue states or those that are necessarily have higher taxes, Secretary.
Well, let me just say, I spoke to the governor of Texas over the weekend, just as an example. You know, that's obviously the largest state. And based upon our proposal, I think they have more than enough money to cover the deficit. So, look, I understand New York has problems, and, you know, I wish they didn't have financial problems. I think that perhaps the state should put in financial control board over the city because the city is really going in the wrong direction. And it reminds me of the 70s. I want to see New York City succeed.
I know. When you and I grew up there, it's true. California, by the way, is the largest state, though, and they have a over $50 billion budget deficit, I believe.
I don't believe that's the number for California.
Okay.
That may be a multi-year number, but I don't think that's correct.
All right, Mr. Secretary, I wanted to talk about something that I know.
And yes, you are correct. My mistake. Texas is the second, so I apologize for that. Thanks for fact-checking.